time.
She's counting.
She was counting last time.
Hi, I'm Art Fine. Welcome to Little Art's Poker Party, number 162. Coming to you from Santa Monica on a beautiful day in May. No, it's June, ain't it?
June.
We got
all over, right?
We got a real good show. A lot of regular guys and a real special guest. Well, I guess I couldn't call Freddie a regular guy, but he's kind of regular on this show.
Semi-regular.
Fast Freddie.
He's a Saratan.
It's really a privilege to have you on with us. We ain't had you on for a while.
Thank you, Art. It's been a while.
Last time you were on, you were eating a pita burger.
May have been.
Yeah.
Maybe why you haven't been on more often.
Might be.
Yeah, so Freddie's here. Glad to see you, Fred. Fred, are you in any bands right now?
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm in 2 bands.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm in the Love Supremes and Fast and Bulbous.
Both of these bands are playing around LA. I could catch them sometime.
You know, Love Supremes just played. I don't know when they're going to play again. And Fast and Bulbous is playing July 14th, I think, at what's the name of that club out in the valley? Bebop Records.
Oh, that club.
That club.
Yeah, okay.
Fabulous Bebop Records.
Well, glad to see you here. Next in, we got Mr. Todd Everett. Todd, it's a groove. Are you in any bands right now?
I'm not in any bands at all.
What was the last band you were in?
Lucky Millender, wasn't it?
I thought I recognized him.
Okay.
It's just Lucky and Bull Moose Jackson.
Yeah,
A man with no credits, but he did want to come on the show real bad, as all these fellas did. In order to meet this young lady, we got Miss Ruth Brown. Ruth?
How you doing?
Welcome, first time to the show. Happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be any place. Thank you very much.
Ruth's playing right now at the Hollywood Roosevelt.
Just to say she was playing.
No, I'm going to try and get this on so it'll be current.
Oh,
so you can still catch her at the. I'm going to skip next week's show and put this on.
Oh, great.
So she's still there. Hollywood Roosevelt. Go catch her if you can get tickets.
What are the dates of the last weekend? 10th, 11th, 12th, something?
The 10th, 11th. I will close on the night of the 11th, but there's a very special thing. The 10th and 11th, we're recording live. So if anybody wants to come out and make noise,
yeah.
great.
That'll be good. That'll be tomorrow night and the night after.
Yes. Yes.
Next to her, we got Billy Vera. Billy.
Indeed.
It's great to see you here. You know, I had a lottery to draw tickets for who would be on this show because everybody wanted to be on with Ruth.
With Miss Rhythm.
And
although they're calling you Ms. Rhythm nowadays, right? They don't call you Miss Rhythm anymore.
The new movement.
Wait a second, now that's going back to like slavery time and Ms. Brown.
No, that's why it's Ms. Brown. And I have the privilege of saying I don't want it now.
Yeah, okay. That's that old Southern stuff. I don't know about Ms. So we're all real happy to have Ruth here. You were telling me on our drive over here that you were for a while on a Brown tour with Charles and Roy.
Yes, Charles and Roy and Ruth.
Did you actually?
The 3 Bs, they called us.
Did you actually tour in a package like that?
Oh, indeed so, for quite a long while, 4 or 5 months at the time. Charles Brown, Roy Brown, and myself, and we will build just like that on what they call the super shows. We will begin from Washington, D.C. and go all the way to what we call the Muck, to Gulfport, Mississippi, and double and come back, and then get back into Louisiana, cross Texas, and out to the West Coast. But we did tour for many months together. Ruth Brown, Charles Brown, and Roy Brown.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like Chuck Berry, Promised Land. They start in Norfolk, go through Louisiana, Mississippi,
Yes.
Texas, wind up in California.
Indeed. That's
Also
my
sounds
home.
like they should have made a record. Remember that record by the Browns?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. The little Jimmy Brown.
Little Jimmy Brown.
Well, no, I like that because that was my first husband's name, Jimmy Brown. When I do the story of the men in my life, that's the first song I'm going to sing with great feeling.
Oh, I bet.
Now, Ruth, you were playing in the early '50s. Freddie, let's show both of the album covers we got here.
Ooh, stereo.
Yeah, we got
Yes.
2 different
Stereo
sets of
album.
older album covers.
Oh, wow.
There's Freddie that's the first Atlantic album, and this must
Can I
be
get the stock
Hold It
numbers off
Still.
there, boys? I'm chasing my money.
Ruth has been singing in the early '50s, actually late '40s. Huh?
Yes, big
you
time,
were
but that's
2
fine.
years old at the time.
Yes.
Now, you've been singing right along, and I know in the '70s and '80s you were singing around in California. And what are you doing now that you weren't doing then? Because you're hot as a pistol now.
Isn't that interesting? It scares me to death. As long as I don't go to the newsstand and see my picture on the cover of Time, I feel safe. Because once they put you on Time, you can ready to go.
I think that's Sports Illustrated.
You see? But what has happened, I think that what has happened is that I have been sort of a survivor, and now there are a change of times. People are now once again listening to the music that I was very much a part of. Not because they want to, but because they're being forced to. There are soundtracks in the movies now. They're doing the commercials with the R&B sound. And they are looking for those originals who have remained or are still with us.
Stay in show business or alive.
Alive. But I have sort of maintained a little bit of visibility because I involve myself in other things. Thank goodness I am a versatile kind of a singer. When they didn't listen to rhythm and blues, I sang jazz. You know, if they didn't want that, then I got involved with theater, and I did off-Broadway shows. I worked in school programs, and I worked in the rhythm department, teaching workshops.
The rhythm department of what university was that?
Well, this was New York State, thank goodness, and we worked from kindergarten level all the way up to college level. We dealt with harmony, rhythm, and melody. I was rhythm. And I taught how you could take any song and take it and change the rhythm pattern and make it work for whatever situation.
I'd like to take a course in rhythm right now.
Oh, great. So that's the way we've survived, and when that didn't work, I did a little television here for a while. I came to California and wanted to stay. But when the television series ran out, there were not enough outlets for the singing and the music.
What was the television series?
Hello, Larry, with McLean Stevenson.
That's the one Johnny Carson always talks about.
I can't imagine why that didn't last.
Oh, long story.
But now you got a movie career.
Yes.
Hairspray.
All of a sudden, I'm a movie star in Hairspray. Of course, I was in quite a few films. You just didn't see me because I was an extra. All those years, I ran through the Chubby Chase film, Under the Rainbow. I ran through the little midgets behind. Person. No, I was the one with the mop chasing the midgets. I was in that, and I was in Honky Tonk Freeway. I was one of the mothers when they came through the store who snatched a child out of the way, like. But it was Under the Rainbow that got me a card in Screen Actors Guild. And I love Chevy Chase for that. Last time I saw him, he never knew I was there, but I was. And I've done off-Broadway, as I said. I did James Baldwin's Amen Corner. I did a Mahalia Jackson wherein I sang gospel. And I did very short-lived Blues in the Night with Leslie Uggams on Broadway. I did Guys and Dolls in Vegas at the Aladdin.
I saw her in that.
Yes,
is that right?
I was in that. Yes, and the last thing that I did was that's right. Yeah. Clifton Davis, Leslie Uggams, Adam Wade, and Judy Pace.
I mean, it's a great cast.
Yes.
This is a while back.
And then I found the last thing I did was an off-Broadway show called Stagger Lee, which was built on the story of Stagger Lee from the old Lloyd Price record, you know. And it was in that show that the casting director for Hairspray saw me, Mary Calhoun, and suggested me to John Waters, who was directing and producing.
Now, what's your name in that movie again?
Motor Mouth Maybelle. Can you imagine why?
was the character named before?
Yes, she was named before I got there, and in fact, the day that they gave me the sides, I only saw a side, you know, with a couple of lines. I said, Motor Mouth, why is she called that? You know, so they said they'd let me wait in case I got the role. If I didn't, then I wouldn't be disappointed.
Was there a real, I mean, you were saying this is the Buddy Dean show in Baltimore. Was there a real Motor Mouth or somebody
Yes, there was. She was not called Motor Mouth, but the character is fashioned very closely on a woman who was involved in radio at that particular time.
It occurred to me when watching that picture that a lot of the younger people today don't realize how serious the racial problems really were.
Yes.
Waters treats it some humor. I mean, it's a funny movie more than anything else, but he's also pretty serious in that.
Yes.
And what were you doing in those days? This is what, like 62?
Well, yes, 62. I was still attempting to present music in places that wanted to accept it. I wasn't as active as I had been in the 50s, of course, because at this time I had children and I was in and out and I was not going too far. But the situation that is expressed in Hairspray, John Waters was rather close on the reality, the feeling that we got. And as I remember one of the scenes, the riot scene at the Tilted Acres amusement park, when the two races faced one another head on, one preventing the black children from coming into the dance area. The real reality of that happening, when the camera stopped, there were kids who just could not believe but that made them feel like it, you know, to have people yelling unkind things at you and even throwing a cherry bomb into the audience. And then when we had to run, and there was falling and stumbling on top of each other. And when they got up, the kids said, "Oh, I can't believe that ever happened." And I said, "Well, it did, except that today you are very fortunate because you're on camera. And they can stop the camera and say, stop." And when that actually happened, that was not the case.
Go have a donut together.
Go have a donut, that's right. And let's sit back down and you take off your outfit and let's talk again.
You said they cut out a scene with you in the bump 'em cut.
I believe they did I know I was set to accept the award for this particular scene. I had already printed my invites.
Well, maybe they'll put it in the home video version.
You think they probably will.
What's the scene?
But this scene was at the same Tilted Acres playland that was owned by Sonny Bono and his wife Debbie Harry. And they were the two racist owners who did not want the kids to come in and mingle at the dance. And it was after this particular scene where the pickets had broken into the amusement park that I, being the leader and instigator of all this, spotted Sonny Bono and Debbie Harry coming in my direction. And I oh, you know, and I chased them. And in the chase, they're trying to get away from me, so they run into the bumper cars. And Sonny Bono and Debbie jump in a bumper car together, as did their daughter jump in one by herself. And they ran through the turnstile prior to this to get in. The turnstile was clicking. When I got to the turnstile, the guy who was in charge of the park locked it so it wouldn't turn, and I couldn't get in. So indeed, I brought all this strength and I shook it and pulled it up out the grass and threw it, you know, and then yelled and made this run and snatched this woman out of the bumper car. I said, "Let me have this car." She didn't move fast enough, so I lifted her. No, not Debbie, another kind patron. No, wasn't her. Because they had already moved by then. And I got into this bumper car and I took out, you know, Geronimo. And when they looked around and saw me, the panic in Sonny's face was enough to win him the award of the year. You know, and finally I catch up to them and I bumped them, and I just bumped, and Debbie's hair fell off, you know, her wig fell off.
Well, you know, the awards for '88 haven't been calculated. Maybe you and Sonny and Debbie are still up for it.
I would hope so.
I hope so. I'm voting. Todd, are you in the Motion Picture Academy?
No, but...
Well, I think we ought to block vote.
I just put my lawyer in, don't worry.
Okay. Become honorary members. How about you, Freddie?
No.
Just jump right in anytime.
Yeah. If you got any questions, Freddie, just...
You know, it's interesting how the racism thing, when you were first starting to perform, was that.
Yes.
And then what it is now, the kids don't even recognize it.
That's right.
The early part of my career was in the late '60s, mid '60s, and it was and what happened had fallen somewhere in between when Judy Clay and I were singing,
together.
and we were the first interracial duet singing love songs. Well, there was no...
Since Shirley Temple and Bill Robertson.
Yeah, since Shirley Temple, they were singing love songs. But they wouldn't put us on national television. You know, they had other people singing our hits.
You don't know about that, do you?
But I know Tony Orlando is glad you started.
Yeah, he is.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
And Dawn.
Yeah. But no, like I saw Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood sing Storybook Children.
Yeah.
I saw Minnie Pearl and Cary Grant singing Country Girl City Man. And Vicky Carr came out and sang with Pen in Hand. So, you know.
And that's yours.
Yeah, I had all those hits.
You had With Pen in Hand before Vicky.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a couple years before her. Yeah.
Did Bobby Goldsboro, who wrote it, ever record it himself before you did?
Yes, not as a single. It was on an album. Jerry, I was playing Judy and I were playing the Apollo, and I got this phone call from Jerry Wexler, our dear friend, and he said, "I found this song on a Bobby Goldsboro album, and it's not
going to be the single." Jerry Wexler sitting on playing Bobby Goldsboro records.
I think it was more like somebody called him up and told him. Knowing Jerry, he wouldn't have been lit, but he said, "Man," that's how he talked. Remember?
Yes, I know.
Man, it's a smash, and you got to record it, man. So we went, yeah.
Well, you got covered a lot, didn't you?
Quite a few times. Somebody was listening to me.
What songs were covered?
Over the Dream was covered by Patti Page. Have a Good Time was covered by Tony Bennett. Teardrops in My Eyes was covered by Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, Louis Jordan,
Wynonna Harris.
Yeah. Mambo Baby, Please Don't Freeze on Me was covered by Georgia Gibbs. 3 Letters was covered by K-Star.
And you covered 3
Lucky
letters
Lips.
yourself. You covered.
I covered 3 letters from a fellow named Bobby Marshall.
Right.
We all did.
Yeah.
God bless him. He never got the credit, but that's where the song came from. Irregardless to what you heard, it came from a fellow named
All
Bobby
you
Marshall.
people who think Larry Darnell started
He
that.
was not.
All the millions of you out there.
Motor Mouth is here to tell the truth, Ruth.
We're not esoteric at all.
No.
Didn't Eddie Condon play on one of your first
The
records?
very first one. The very first one. That was quite accidental. That was not intentional. They were
Walked in the wrong studio or something like that,
You
right?
know. They were
was a
doing
Dixie
an
session.
album for Cavalcade of Music at the time, and I had just come in to go into another studio to do some rehearsing for the original album that we were going to set out to do. And it was Ahmed Erdogan again who decided, well, look, we got a blank spot here. Why not put her in here? And it was very interesting because when I went into the studio, we were talking about Eddie Condon, Big Sid Catlett, Bobby Hackett,
So this is sort
Joe
of
Bushkin.
a traditional jazz group.
just a few guys. You
Yeah.
know.
But
Bobby Hackett, Ernie Caceres.
but
What a
not,
group.
not R&B people at
No,
all.
not really R&B people.
What
but
song was
Well,
that?
look who played on the
So
R&B
Long, the one you
record,
played.
so-
That was the very first one. That came from that album. And we went in, they indeed agreed to take that one slot that they had and try what it was I was going to do. And they sort of improvised, and that great trumpet solo there in the beginning, Bobby Hackett. You know, the piano,
Which record
Joe
was this?
Bushkin.
So Long.
So Long, the very
Was
first
the first
record.
hit or was that first record?
First hit.
Yeah.
Well, I say hit because I guess according to what happened later with record sales, but for me, that was the one that brought Ruth Brown to the attention of people, and that's the one that Atlantic really introduced me with that. So that.
Now, you know, I didn't know Mama He Treats Your Daughter Mean till sometime in the 70s, and then
Oh,
I got
boy,
it
were you late.
on the Soul Years, the 25th anniversary album, and then it was the fast
Yes.
version. Then I found out there was a slow version from 4
Oh,
years
yes.
earlier. What was that about?
1953 was the original one. That original one was done in the studio with Hal Jackson playing the tambourine because the union wouldn't allow me to pick it up. I didn't have a union.
And Hal
card.
Jackson, the disc jockey?
Yes.
Happy
Yes.
Hal,
He
the
did,
housewife.
he did have a union card.
But they looked at him and thought perhaps he had nerve or something. You know, but they knew I was obviously not a member.
Plus, he might play it on his show if he played tambourine on
Right,
it.
you know, he did later. But he's on that. It was written by Johnny Wallace and Herb Lance, and Herb Lance was a great singer at that time during the 50s. So the tune belonged to them, and I hated it. I really did. I thought it was terrible, you know.
Really?
I did. I mean, it wasn't what I had been doing, you know, because I had done Teardrops and 510, the Rudy Toombs things. It had good, but this I didn't get the understanding.
It was a little too cute for me,
Right,
maybe.
right.
Yeah.
As was Lucky Lips with
Yeah,
Lieber
Lucky
Stoller.
Lips was
I
even
said,
more so.
please.
I liked Lucky Lips,
But it was the
even
one
more so.
thing that got me on the Dick Clark show.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Mama He Treats Your Daughter Mean. So how did you didn't even like it? You did it twice.
Yes,
And you came back and
because
redid
it was the greatest record I ever had.
She likes it a lot now.
You understand?
I
I
like it a little
cannot
more
go
now, yeah.
anywhere that they don't ask for Mommy Teach Your Daughter Me. I was in Tokyo working the Budokan, and I thought that all the faces were people from Japan, and they're all the way in the back. I'm up on stage with the Modern Jazz Quartet, Thad Lewis, and everybody, Thad Jones and Mel Lewis, and somebody says, "Sing Mama." I couldn't believe it. So it's like my signature song. It's kept me working above everything I've ever done. That has kept me working. So whenever anybody comes to see my show, if they say that Mama Does Not Belong, they got it. Because I have to sing Mama. You
They
see?
feel that they're not getting their money's worth.
Right.
Jackie Wilson told me many years
Right.
ago, he said, baby, he says, always do your hits.
You have to do the
He says,
hits.
that's the only reason they're paying a little $5 to see you perform.
Sinatra's been doobie doing for
Yeah.
a while. And Sam Cooke has Candyman until the store is empty. But that's the signature
Sammy Davis.
song.
Sammy Davis.
Sammy Davis, yeah.
Sam, you know who it is. The little guy.
That's right. They don't come to hear Sammy Davis do James Brown
No,
songs. Thank you.
no way. No way.
I'd pay money to see that myself, but
And
we're a
you know,
little
when
weird.
you stay in the business and you got 40 years of the music, you got enough music to do your own.
Speaking of, it's just something really weird, but I was listening to a tape on the way into the new upcoming Johnny Mathis album. He does Once in a While on it, a real sort of
Once in a
doo-wop arrangement.
While?
Like
Yeah.
the chimes?
Once in
Yeah.
a while. Well, it goes back to those old standards.
And
Yeah,
somebody
but he does
else,
like Sunny Night.
somebody
that
else
sort of
just
thing.
recorded
Yeah.
Be Anything. I heard that too.
Pretty good.
which is one of the tunes was big. I don't know who did that.
Be Anything?
But Be Mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who did it, Billy?
Ruth Brown.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Who did it new? No, who did it?
Oh, new. I don't know.
Somebody has a new release. I think it's Lou Rawls.
Really?
Yes,
Good.
I think it's Lou Rawls.
Didn't you start out? Where were you from? You're from Texas.
Portsmouth, Virginia.
Oh,
No, Gene Vincent territory.
yeah.
Yes.
Swamp Dog.
Swamp Dog.
Swamp Dog?
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh, wait.
You met the man.
Just a second. We'll get on this.
Do you see this expression? Where is he?
We'll get on to something else.
This is a very interesting show
when
here.
you were, let's say Gary U.S. Bonds.
There is a record out. I knew Swamp Dog's mother and his father.
Mr. and Mrs. Dog.
And I hope I
There were a lot of people that accused Swamp Dog of not being able to.
And I wish I could catch him.
No, he's a swell
You're going
guy.
to cut this out?
Nothing. Great
Will this
guy.
be clipped out?
Let's talk about your early career.
Oh, all right. There we go.
Let's talk about Leonard.
You know
We
why
like
they call me
everybody.
Motormouth, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about the early.
Swamp, she didn't mean it.
I love it. I love it.
The earliest.
Mr. Dog to you.
Yeah. He did some great things with me.
The earliest
Musically.
days. The earliest days. You were. I say you got like in a car, some kind of
Yes.
accident that
Yes.
just postponed your career for a while. When was that?
For about a year. That was my first time to come into New York. I was en route to New York to open the Apollo and to get a formal contract from Atlantic Records, and I had an automobile accident that hospitalized me for about a year.
Wow.
But the contract was signed while I was in the hospital, and Atlantic Records paid all my hospital bills, and they had never recorded me. They'd only heard me, you know. So that kind of understanding was there.
I understand that 40 years later you got your second payment.
Yeah, would you believe that? I just got a check, let me see. 2 rent payments ago. And it wasn't bad, it wasn't bad.
Well, you did the Atlantic.
You might want to
Records.
invest in this new thing that we have. No, you don't want to invest any of that money.
I have to speak to my consultant.
That bridge?
That bridge, in
bridge?
Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, that we want
The
to.
one
Starting
that's
a
coming
record
down.
company, and we have Swamp Dog running it.
So, well, actually, you did the Atlantic 40th anniversary
Yes, I
show.
did.
I mean, a lot of people were missing from that, actually, but I.
Including myself.
Yes.
I wasn't even asked.
No.
Oh,
I
baby.
felt so. I cried for about a minute and a half.
It's over?
Yeah.
You mean the Vanilla Fudge was there and you
There were a
were
lot
Can
of
you
people
believe that?
there. There were a lot of people there.
But you just told me Jerry Wexler wasn't there.
He was
of
not
all
there.
people.
Jerry Wexler was not there.
I gotta find out about that.
He was not.
Now, do you happen to know how it was? You actually saw what I mentioned before. You saw Ahmet Ertegun introduce Henry Kissinger to Wilson Pickett.
Yes. And I moved away because a moment before that, I couldn't imagine what was going to happen because just before that, I had gone to Wilson. He was sitting with the Spinners. And I had said, Wilson, how you doing? You know?
He pulled a.
And he said, I didn't get your name. I said, Ruth Brown. Ruth Brown, my God, I always wanted to meet you. So I moved
You
on.
should have said, well, Jackie Wilson, it's a pleasure to meet you too.
No, but I you know, I
Then he shot her.
That Wilson plays jokes sometimes. Then again, he's just being himself. You know, I get one of those times he was just playing a joke. I would like to think, because I mean, I can talk his history if he wants me to talk it. But nevertheless, the fact that he did not recognize me, 40 years makes a difference. He looked a little strange to me
It wasn't
too,
40
by
years ago
then.
for him, though. It was like
No.
30 or something like
Yeah.
that. Well, that's a lot.
No, but nonetheless, we played jokes on one another.
We were playing the Apollo with Wilson Pickett one time, Judy Clay and I, and we were the act that was before he was the star, and we were the act
Yes.
that went on right before, about 7 acts on before. And it was right at the time when the record was at its peak. Our record was at its peak. And at the backstage of the Apollo on stage right, there's these stairs
That you
when
can
you
go
come
up
down.
on the lift.
Yeah.
I know exactly. I stood there many
And I
times.
was standing, I came off stage, I'm standing underneath the stairs. And we were getting a standing ovation just that one night. And Pickett was up there. I heard him, he didn't see me, and he said to his band, he says, "What is that?" I ain't gonna follow that. Make the band play.
Well,
He wouldn't go.
that's pretty good.
I know the
He gets, you know how he is, you know.
I know him well, but
I
I,
love
had
him,
that
though.
happen to me. I looked down off of that same walk and saw a fellow standing there with his head back, you know, and the audience was screaming. And I had come in from Los Angeles. I'd been out here and played the Shrine with Bill Eckstein and Basie. And I went back to New York and just got ready for the show. My pianist went ahead of me and rehearsed the band. So when I came to the Apollo, I came in the back entrance. I never looked at the marquee. I don't know who this was, except that I was following this act, and I stood there, and this man was standing, and I looked down and saw, I heard the noise. He was standing in a powder blue tuxedo. He was yay tall and gorgeous. And he was saying, and you never walk alone. Roy Hamilton. I like to die. You talk about Wilson Pickett screaming? I said, get Mr. Schiffman right now. No, baby. I'm not going out there in that, because the Apollo audience will get you.
They will too.
You
They'll
know,
hurt you.
they will come up and get you if you come out and they're not ready for you. And they were not ready for me. I said, send Red Fox on, let him tell something else dirty. Get a bit of time to cool down. I'm not going behind it. I know how Wilson felt.
Yeah.
Because, you know, but the longer you're in the business, you learn one thing. Some people get really uptight about where they go on in the show. See, the closing spot is not always necessarily the star spot.
That's
it's
right.
the hardest spot in the
one.
world. You know, if you get that, you also take a lot of responsibility.
That's right.
Because, see, I would probably put the water hose on y'all if it been in front of me. Wilson was nice. He just screamed, oh, help, get me out of here.
Yeah, man.
But that happens.
But nowadays, you know, you don't have to follow anybody, because there's only one act on the show.
One got the whole show.
I don't like it that
And
way. I
by
like
the
it
time
your
you
way
get
better.
through with the dancers and the strobe lights and the smoke, we got choked to death backstage at the Atlantic 40th anniversary. When I got ready to go on, the act in front of me, it had so much smoke and steam. I was like, Roberta Flack was holding me up as I was going on, and she was coughing worse than I was.
Push you out on the stage.
She went out on the stage and introduced me, and they cut out everything she said because she was coughing. And now
ladies and gentlemen, real lady that sang so long.
Listen, thanks a lot. Speaking of personal appearances, this should air on June 10th, and that means we'll have 2 or 3 more nights of Ruth Brown at the Cinegrill in Hollywood Boulevard or something, Hollywood and Orange, I think.
Hollywood and Orange.
Roosevelt
Just east
Hotel.
of LeBron.
They'll know.
And,
Yes.
but you probably can't get in, because it's probably sold out tomorrow
I'd
night.
like to think so. If the reviews
But
haven't come out
try
yet.
anyway. Whoa.
Just a second, I was hoping Freddie could tell us some of his experiences at the Apollo.
No, I'm sorry, we don't have time. It'll have to be after the show is over. So thanks everybody very much for coming by. It's a pleasure to see you. Pleasure to have you here. And we hope to do it again. And hope your record, your live record you're recording for Fantasy sells 1 billion.
I hope so.
And then some.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
So thanks a lot. Maybe we'll run some more of those Ruth Brown tunes I queued up, unless they got Chucky Weiss queued up already. I don't know.
That's the next best thing.
Run whatever you got. Thanks for coming by. What's your son's name and what label's he on?
Oh, Ron Jackson, and he's on MCA. He's the lead singer with a group called The Boys Next Door, but they're getting ready to do a single on him also.
Wow.